that all the Sea Shepherd's ships are vegan?
Animal agriculture at sea and at land is destroying the oceans.
From pollution and runoff, creating dead zones.
To overfishing for human and farm animal consumption.
Making the meat industry the biggest consumer of ocean wildlife on the planet.
And that's just the beginning.
This is why we are inviting you to join our vegan challenge.
Eat healthy for you and for the planet.
While supporting the fight for the oceans.
Hello everyone and welcome to today's event, Vegan for the Ocean. My name is Micah. I am the media coordinator for Sea Shepherd Portugal and a crew veteran, and I am the host for tonight. This event is very important for us because we from Sea Shepherd believe and actually know that a vegan diet is a major part of marine and nature conservation. We feed our crews only vegan food of our vessels, and most of our onshore volunteers are also vegan. Not because they have to be, but because they get more and more information about the meat and dairy industry. And the more information you get, the less you can support the destruction of ocean and nature. Today, we will first hear about the fishing industry, veganism, and the impressive career of our CEO, Alex Cornelissen, in Sea Shepherd. We will also have a little private tour on one of our vessels, the Sam Simon, with our chefs Elliot and Mathew. After that, we will announce the winner of the contest, Vegan for the Ocean. We will have a special guest for the announcement, the very well-known, I guess all of you guys know him, Chef Mathew Kenney. He will choose, or he did choose already, and announce the winner of our contest. He will also explain more about vegan cuisine and why he chose that recipe as a winner. Mathew has 23 vegan restaurants all around the world and is an author of 12 cookbooks and is the world's first leading chef in plant-based cuisine. And of course, he's an active supporter of Sea Shepherd. In the end, we will also have a Q&A for you guys with Chef Mathew Kenney and Captain Alex Cornelissen. So please feel free to put your questions in the comment box so I can ask the questions and you get your answers. And also, please feel free to donate to us so we can continue to feed our crew on the ships and in general, continue to go on our missions and save the oceans. However, now we will start with Alex Cornelissen, our CEO from Sea Shepherd. He will tell us more about our mission from Sea Shepherd, our vegan lifestyle, and about his career on the vessels. And also he will announce our little tour of the Sam Simon. So enjoy, guys.
Thanks, Micah. Yeah, maybe for some of you might know this, a fact about my career with Sea Shepherd. I actually started as the chief cook in 2002 on our flagship at the time, the Farley Mowat. A vessel that we don't have anymore. In the Galapagos I joined and I became the chief cook. I was the chief cook on board for about 6 months, and after that I got promoted to the bridge. I guess people didn't like my cooking too much, and I stayed up on the bridge ever since. But that 6 months in the galley really made me realize how incredibly hard work it is to be able to cook for a large crew. We had a crew of about 40 people on board, so we had to make 3 main meals every day, snacks. So you basically cook it all the time. We had a crew of about 4 or 5 people in the galley. And our ships have been serving a vegan diet for almost 20 years now, and we don't really talk about that. It's just something that we feel is the right thing to do. Why? Because, of course, we're saving the oceans, we're saving marine wildlife, and we feel it would be hypocritical to then serve animal protein or animal products. Now, of course, a lot of us are vegan, but not everybody on board is vegan. You don't need to be a vegan to join Sea Shepherd. Having said that, a lot of people actually do turn vegan after they've been a crew member on Sea Shepherd. And why is that? Because people realize that plant-based food is actually quite tasty, can actually be quite nutritious and very well balanced. And of course, it really helps if you have a good cook on board. So again, I guess my cooking wasn't too good, so that's why they promoted me to the bridge, where I later became a captain and now of course, CEO. But that people always think that the captain is the most important person on the ship. People say, of course, every crew member is important because together you form the crew and together you make the ship move. Together you make sure that the campaign gets executed and that successes are being booked and that the poachers are being caught. But people think that the captain is the most important person on board, and it's not. The most important person on board is the cook. The galley is the most important department on a vessel, especially on a Sea Shepherd vessel. And you have to realize that we don't always go into the action. There's not always action, pulling in lines, pulling in nets, going after poachers, making arrests, fighting whalers. That obviously doesn't happen every day. A lot of the time you just spend in transit or you spend on the ocean, and it can get boring. And the highlight of the day or the highlights of the day are meal times. That's the time you get together with the crew. And when you then get ramen noodles, it's very frustrating and people get very, very unhappy. But if you have a cook or a chef, because our cooks are not just cooks, they're chefs. When you have a chef on board who makes a delicious meal, it just makes your day. And to have that repeated, to have that 3 times a day plus snacks, it's just absolutely amazing. I mean, what I see now when I come to the ships, I see the range of food that people put out. It's absolutely unbelievable. And I understand why people would turn vegan after being on a ship, having had the opportunity to actually taste how vegan food can taste, how good vegan food can be. It's really an eye-opener. And a lot of our crew members who came on board as non-vegans have then turned into veganism, have turned to a plant-based diet. And the idea of this event is obviously to show people what life is on board a Sea Shepherd vessel, but also to talk about the importance of a plant-based diet. We live with way too many people on the planet. And if we are to save the planet, one of the most important ways to save the planet is to change to a plant-based diet. It's the most sustainable diet for the planet, for the animals, and for the people that consume it. So yeah, I'd like to tell people, if you're thinking about going plant-based, definitely give it a try. You'll like it. If you're thinking about joining Sea Shepherd, you're not a vegan, you're welcome. You're always welcome on our ships. You will be served vegan food, but you'll find out it is extremely tasty. I'm no longer the cook, so it's all good. You can join us and you can give it a try. We're going to take a little look inside one of our vessels. We have a nice video from two of our cooks, Elliot and Mathilde, on the Sam Simon. And they're going to show you what life is like on board a ship and the cooking that they do on a daily basis. So let's watch a little video.
Hi Micah, hi Alex, hello everyone.
Hello.
This is Mathew.
This is Elliot.
I'm the chief cook on board the Sam Simon, and we're currently on board in the middle of the Bay of Biscay for the 5th Dolphin ByCatch campaign. Going to patrolling with a pretty shitty weather, but you know, it's winter in the Bay of Biscay, so that's all we could hope for, unfortunately. This is the galley of the Sam Simon. This is where we cater every day for up to 30 to 35 people, 3 meals a day and a couple of snacks. It's a pretty cozy galley, actually. It's well equipped, it's warm, so it has pretty much everything we need. So that's a good work environment, I would say. I can show you around and show you like the different storage rooms and cold rooms. So this is the main companionway of the ship, on which we have 3 dry store and 2 cold rooms. First of the dry store being on my right there. This one is referred to as the grain store. This is where we're storing the cereals, the legumes, the beans, some starch, some berries, like different, also some flour. Just so you know, like in campaign we can use up to 120 kilos of flour a month. So we need to store a lot. So we go on. This is gonna be the second dry store, referred to as a milk store. This is where we store most of the plant-based milk we have on board and some baking stuff, as you can see, some more dry products. For the milk, yeah, we also store a lot because we can use up to sometimes 7, 8, 10 liters a day. So we're trying to leave ports usually with up to 700 liters in our rooms. But if the ship is to leave Europe to go to the African continent, for example, during the summer campaign, we know it will be hard to find it there. So we're gonna provision sometime up to 1,000, 1,200 liters. So it's a lot, but we have room for it. So that's good. Now, the main dry store on my left. This is where we're storing the rest of the meat, but also condiments, oil, spices, jars, and also, yeah, different preserves and pickled produce. So yeah, a lot of room to store like everything we need. So we are approaching the bow. It's part of the ship that moves a lot, especially here. And the first cold room, referred to as a fruit cold room, where we have most of the fruit, but also some vegetables here. We have also the vegan cheese, margarine, fruit juices. So yeah, a lot of good stuff. And here is a veggie cold room. And voila, this is where we have all our veggies. To give you some figures, when we left this time, we left La Rochelle with 160 kilos of potatoes, for example, but when we leave Europe, we leave with almost half a ton of potatoes. Here we have like also 70 kilos of onions, 70 kilos of carrots. It's a lot of vegetables. But of course, you know, we have also like a very big family on board. Sailing is very exhausting on the body, so we eat a lot on board, so you know, that's part of the job. On a more like personal level, I wanted to thank you all for taking part into the Vegans for the Ocean challenge. I hope I'll see and have to cook all your delicious recipes. Maybe I'll see you someday also on board if you're planning on volunteering for Sea Shepherd. We're going back on the galley now, where Mathew is actually working on some delicious muffins for tomorrow morning.
Yes.
Yeah, also something I failed to mention before, we're using cups and this kind of little equipment here, teaspoon and tablespoon. Why?
Yeah, why? Because we cannot waste the stuff. So we have to use the American system, so cups and teaspoon and tablespoon. It's easier for us. So on board, as you can see, we just eat vegan food and we prepare vegan food. So for tomorrow morning, it will be muffin. And for us, it's the best way to protect the ocean, protect the animals. So you can try yourself to make some great recipe and enjoy.
Yeah. But it's also something maybe I could also send a little odds for the rest of you. Why is everything trapped basically, you know, like behind woods or behind rubber bands? It's just because the ship is constantly moving, you know, so we need to keep everything secure, or else everything like is kind of, you know, in danger. Everything could fall. Sometime at night, you know, like the weather like picks up, and if something lays down on a bench or is not properly secured somewhere, we will find it the next morning on the floor, all broken, all spilled. So that's an extra precaution we have to take when we are sailing. I think that's all for us tonight. So again, thank you all for taking part into the Vegans for the Ocean challenge.
Thank you all.
Hopefully we'll see you on board someday, and in the meantime, eat vegans, eat your vegetables, and yeah,
Wash
change the
your
world
finger.
one vegan meal at a time. Bye bye.
Bye.
All right, welcome back everyone, and thank you, Alex, for sharing so many insights and information with us. I believe you've just convinced a lot of people to become vegan, and hopefully also to donate to our mission. You can find the donation button just next to this window, right, left down. Also, thank you, Elliot and Mathilde, for this little vessel tour. It was really amazing to see the inside of the Sam Simon, I guess, for all of us. So, and now we are going to talk about the contest. The contest is not just here to have new recipes for our chefs and just to mix it up a little bit on the vessels, but also to raise awareness for the need of more vegans on this planet and to change our consumption towards veganism and plant-based food. Veganism is a crucial and easy way actually to support our mission from Sea Shepherd to protect our planet. And also you can do it from home. It's really easy and you can do it from home. Perfect. You might think eating vegan is not such a big deal or doesn't make such a big difference, but it's actually one of the biggest tools to stop animal cruelty, because where there's no demand, there's no supply, so there's also no slaughter. And each one of us can make a big difference. Each of you alone who's a vegan can save up to 100 animals a year, which is crazy when you think about if you multiply the amount of people watching by 100, and that's how many lives we can save just with the people watching. So now we will get to a part of this event many people of you have probably been waiting for. We will announce the winner of the Vegan for the Ocean contest. Thank you everyone for sending us your recipes. We were amazed by the creativity. They were really incredibly cool. I tried a few and it was very good. Probably not as good as if you would cook it, but let's see. Yeah, we had over 100 recipes and it was really hard to narrow it down to 10 people and then also finding the final winner. But Mathew Kenney, the vegan chef and active supporter of Sea Shepherd, chose his favorite recipe. And he will now tell us which one it was. And he will also tell us a bit more about plant-based cuisine and why he chose the recipe. So enjoy, guys. And hello, Mathew.
Hi, thank you. Thank you, Alex and Micah and everybody at Sea Shepherd for having me, but also for the great work you've been doing for so many years. I first heard about you from my dear friend and partner, Sebastiano Castiglione, who's a big supporter. I grew up on the coast of Maine, and it was a lobster fishing town. Looked out of my bedroom window at this little bay and always took it for granted. Growing up, I was not vegan or vegetarian, probably did not even know what a vegan was at that time. And it only, there was an island just across from our house. And it was only when I think I was in high school and there were developers constantly trying to develop this little island, which was the largest uninhabited island on the coast of the US. And the studies came out, and of course, we started to understand the impact on the marine life and how that would change our environment and how it would change the marine life itself and just our whole ecosystem, the interconnectedness of it. So I became very passionate about the oceans then, and it wasn't until I was introduced to plant-based cuisine after I became a chef. I had been a chef for quite some time that I realize the impact that chefs can make in a positive way in this world. And as Alex and Micah said, plant-based eating is the way to do it. And I've always believed if we can make plant-based food the best food in the world, it solves the problem. And that's not just professional chefs, it's home cooks, it's anybody who's feeding their family and makes a plant-based choice. So for that reason, I was really excited about the creativity and having so many submissions to look at, because all of us out there collectively can really make a huge change in the world by creating delicious plant-based food and changing habits. And it's completely aligned with everything Sea Shepherd stands for. So it was hard to pick. I have a partiality toward Mediterranean cuisine, and I love bouillabaisse. So, and I hope I say your name correctly, but Georgia make sure I read it right. Capaccioli did a beautiful fishless bouillabaisse, and bouillabaisse just happened to be one of my favorite dishes and still is in a plant-based version. And I thought it was really creative and colorful. It goes with the theme of the sea and the ocean so fluidly, and just want to congratulate all of you for such creative work. I love seeing the sort of individual styles and influences that go into this. So it's really amazing. and we're all hopefully aligned in what we can do and doing our part and changing the world for the better, keeping it healthy. But anyway, your dish is great. They were all great. I had to go through all of them 2 or 3 times, and I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you, Matthew, for this big announcement and for joining us tonight, of course. I'm pretty sure you just made someone behind the computer very, very happy. Congratulations also from me. We will contact you to collect your merch prices, and we'll also post your recipe on our Facebook page. All right, guys, now we have another highlight for you. We will have a Q&A with Chef Mathew Kenney and Captain Alex. I think we will start with Matthew. Our first question is, do you have any tips for beginners who want to start cooking vegan dishes but find it very overwhelming?
Well, I think going to dishes we're comfortable with and looking for plant-based versions. I mean, I still do that. Yesterday I was craving a pasta fagioli and I hadn't made, but just for some reason I'd never gotten around to making a plant-based version. So there's so much research and so much information available. I think whatever it is you're comfortable with, for the most part, your favorite macaroni and cheese or pasta dish or falafel or salad, whatever it might be, you'll be able to find a plant-based variation of hundreds, if not thousands, of options. So stay in a comfort zone in the beginning, as opposed to trying to go way out and figure out all these new techniques and tools, because we're still learning that. And I've been doing this for almost 20 years as a plant-based chef, constantly experimenting. So I just say start comfortable, keep it simple in the beginning. And I think most importantly, just use the best ingredients, ideally, if they're local, sustainable, and organic, even better. And just go from there. And then eventually you get comfortable and be as creative as you want.
Thank you. Yeah, I totally agree. I also started really simple and just there is a lot of alternatives, even for cheese, that make it really easy to cook your favorite meal and it tastes the same or even better. I believe vegan cuisine tastes better than dairy-based or meat-based, but well. So thank you very much for your answer. Now I have a question, actually 2 questions for Alex. The first one is, do you also take donations from carnivores? That is one from the audience. And what happens if you come on board and you're not vegan?
Yes, to answer the first question, of course we take donations from carnivores. I mean, not everybody is born a vegan. Well, some people are born vegan because their parents raised them vegan, but most people kind of make that change when they learn more. So if you still eat meat, that's your personal choice. I mean, all we can do is try to convince you, to try to show you that there is an alternative. I think the vegan cuisine is already way better than it was 20 years ago. I myself became a vegetarian in '96. I became vegan in 2004. I was actually convinced by Captain Peter Hammerstedt to go from vegetarian to veganism. And for me, if I look at the supermarket now, if I look at the options that you have for a vegan diet, and you compare that to 2004 when I first became vegan, it's a whole different world. There's so much out there because more and more people are starting to realize that plant-based is actually not so bad and it's actually quite tasty. Just going into the plant-based milk section, we used to have our coffee with powdered soy milk. To mix the soy milk powder and then put it in the coffee, which was terrible. But we didn't want to drink cow milk, so we had that as an option. Nowadays, you go to the supermarket and you have almond milk, you have oat milk, you have coconut milk. There's just so much choices there. So it is so much easier now to actually switch to plant-based than it was 20 years ago. And it's only going to get easier when more and more people start to realize that that's actually a good solution. It's actually the right step to take to protect the planet. So do we accept non-vegan crew members? Of course, not everybody on board is a vegan, but I can guarantee that a lot of our crew, when they leave, they have switched to plant-based. And it's not because we tell them that if they eat meat, they're murderers. We just show them how good it is, and they make that choice for themselves, because I think that's the only way.
Yeah, that is totally true, and I couldn't agree more. I know so many people that went on a vessel. Me too, and from being a vegetarian, you easily become a vegan just because you realize it's so delicious and it's so easy and it changes so much on this planet. And you actually already answered the question from Captain Peter Hammerstedt, when you became a vegan and why. So it was actually him. Thank you for that, Peter.
Yeah, that's true. When I first met Peter, actually, that was in Seattle in 2003. I think I just came back from Taiji. I was just released from jail in Taiji, and one of the first people I met on board was Peter Hammerstedt. And then we became friends pretty quickly. We spent many years on board the bridge together, doing watches together. And just in my conversations with Peter, who had been a vegan for quite some time at that time when I met him, I just realized that, that's the only way is just completely switching. And I'm Dutch. So you mentioned already, Micah, cheese was a hard one for me to give up. But yeah, again, nowadays there's so many vegan cheese choices out there that I don't miss it at all.
Yeah, that is true. And so many little manufacturers that make such amazing vegan cheese. Like I just discovered one, truffle, camembert vegan.
Ooh, nice.
Anyway, so moving on to our next question. Mathew, since you run so many restaurants that attract both vegans and non-vegans, what are the secrets to making vegan dishes that appeal to non-vegans and also to vegans?
Well, I learned early on that we really needed to, focus on the foods that are the most popular in the world, and foods that people felt comfortable even before they were whether vegan or non-vegan. Non-vegans, love pasta and pizza and chocolate, and the beauty of and cheese, like you were just talking about. There's so many incredible cheese options out there now, and for me, they're actually better and more interesting. So I think, just providing people with foods that they're comfortable with. And that's really, of course, we love the more avant-garde, very creative, experimental food. That's fun for a chef. It's irresistible. But on a day-to-day basis, it's pasta and soup and pizza, and just using like the best ingredients that we can possibly get our hands on will already elevate the flavor. So if the experience is comparable or ideally better to the non-vegan version that a diner or a guest at a dinner might have had before, then it's really important. When we did a pizza restaurant, we sent our chef to Italy to train and made sure that we're using the best 00 flour and so forth. So it's really about quality and making sure that experience is really as good as it can possibly be.
Yeah, that is true. And also already using local fruits and vegetables make the experience of food just so much better. So I think I can speak for all the three of us. We don't miss any dairy or any meat or any fish. So thank you for that. So I have another question from the audience for Alex. It's actually two again. So, hey vegan, is vegetarian also okay? And what is the connection between dolphin bycatch and eating fish?
Yeah, I think vegetarianism is the larva phase towards becoming a butterfly. So I think it's definitely okay to be a vegetarian because you're already in touch with many more plant-based options. And yeah, I mean, again, I said before, you have to make that choice for yourself because that's the only way you're going to keep it up. It's like doing sports. If you're being forced into sports, you're not going to keep it up. So you need to make that conscious decision for yourself. Like, why would I change to plant-based? There's a lot of good reasons for it. Read it up. I mean, look some videos. There's some really interesting information out there. Second question was, sorry?
The second question was, what's the connection between dolphin bycatch and eating fish?
Yeah, the Dolphin ByCatch campaign in France that is actually currently underway with our vessel Sam Simon. French fishermen are catching a lot of dolphins as bycatch, and unfortunately there's very little been done against this bycatch. And of course, Sea Shepherd France together with Sea Shepherd Global has been campaigning against this for several years now, and we're in the middle of the campaign right now. And already we found dozens of dolphins washed up on the beaches where you can see the markings of the nets on their bodies because they died as bycatch in the fishing nets. Now the fish that these fishermen are catching ends up on a dinner plate of people in France, and if you eat that fish, then you are personally responsible for the killing of the dolphins, because those dolphins are being killed by the same fishermen that bring you your fish. So make that choice for yourself. Do you really want to eat that fish? Because you are responsible for the killing of the dolphins. So we really have to look at the whole fishing industry. And of course, we as Sea Shepherd, we would say stop eating fish altogether. But a very big step forward is already to look at this specific fisheries and make sure that the dolphin bycatch comes to zero, and not fish in these areas during the time that the dolphins are present.
Yeah, and that's true. Like even in Portugal where I live, you find a lot of dead dolphins on washed on to shore, and we know where it comes from, but it happens everywhere. But it's not as obvious for everyone sometimes, because obviously it's being taken care of, so that people wouldn't notice. But yeah, so if you
that's
can,
what Sea Shepherd does. You know, we put a spotlight on these atrocities,
exactly.
and people see what's happening, so people can make that choice and say, okay, that's enough. I don't want to eat any more fish because this is what's happening.
Yeah, and that's why we always ask people to please try the vegan option, and then you can see for yourself. And I believe everyone here knows how amazing vegan food is. So I have another question for Mathew. So Mathew, you opened your first restaurant in '93 in New York City. When did you get started with vegan cuisine? Was it right then? Was it before? And how did it change over time? Do you think it's harder to open a vegan restaurant now than it was back then?
Well, my first of all, I grew up not liking vegetables that much, even though I was surrounded by a garden and all of that. I was also hunting with my dad when I was 10, and then went to a French cooking school after college in 1989. So I was trained to do all the things that are completely opposite of what I'm doing now. Cooking with dairy, cooking with meat and fish and so forth. And then having grown up the way I did, I'm probably the most unlikely vegan on the planet, or one of them anyway. So, you know, first thing that happened for me is that I did start to make more of a connection to the planet and the environment and the way that I ate and how I felt and my health. And it took several years for me to bring those two together, because I was very much into many holistic and wellness practices. And at the same time, there was the other side, which was my profession, which I love. I love restaurants and food and all the things that go with the hospitality industry. But everything had been trained, and everything that I was doing, even though I considered our food to be Mediterranean and healthy, and it got lighter over the years, there was still a big disconnect. And it wasn't until I realized I could bring these two passions together for wellness and culinary art that I really chose to go plant-based. So the first restaurant was in '93, and several more in the few years after that, but it wasn't until 2001 that I chose plant-based. And in those days, we would not be having a conversation in 2001 about a truffle camembert that's actually got a perfect rind. You know, cheese in those days would be like blend up some nuts and throw some, amino acids or something, or Juvelac into it. It's come so far. In the first 10 years that I was involved in it, it was really just trying to figure out techniques to understand how to make a wrapper from a coconut, or how to make ice cream from cashews or seeds. And only in the last 3 or 4 years, we've seen so much of this go mainstream that it's become fashionable. And it's very easy now, thankfully. I mean, every store, even a regular grocery store, doesn't have to be a fancy gourmet store, will have, as Alex was saying, multiple types of almond milk and seed milk and soy milk. I'm just impressed with how many options we have now. So it's also impacted the food industry, the wellness industry, and also children have impacted our industry. So many people who I know are going vegan in their adult ages are influenced by their kids, which is incredible. So I think this generation is going to make even bigger changes as we go forward. And in terms of your question, Micah, about the opening a plant-based restaurant was not only difficult, it was insane. 20 years ago, it was really difficult. There was no audience for it, and nobody wanted to write about it. And we really didn't have a foundation of culinary art. But thankfully, these days, it's the most fashionable, fast-growing cuisine there is, and it's It's no longer looked at as a fringe option. It's really, as cutting edge as it can be. And I think we're really in the midst of seeing a complete shift in our global food paradigm where plants become the center of the plate. So it's a great time to open a vegan restaurant.
Well, I hope you inspired some people now to open their vegan restaurant or food truck or whatever is trending right now. Thank you so much for that input. And it's true, yeah. Right now, it's like every day you go to the supermarket, you see new things you can buy that are vegan, and it's just amazing. It's like a toy store. So I have one more question each. So one is for Alex. What is your favorite recipe from the ships, or what did you cook the best? What did you like the best? What did the crew like the best?
Well, I think my falafel is, which is not my recipe. I took it from The Joy of Cooking, but my falafel is, it's a great dish. I still love to make it. I started making it when I first came on board in 2002, and to this day I make it because it's so tasty. But I make it from scratch. I make it from dried chickpeas all the way to the actual falafel bread. Lately, I've been cooking a lot of bread myself. I mean, lockdown has certainly helped my bakery skills. So my pita bread has also improved. So that's definitely one of my favorite dishes still to this day. But I've also, on board the ships, I've seen so many amazing dishes. I mean, our sushi day is one of the most amazing days. Our pizza days are, I know that Peter loves pizza, Peter Hammerstedt. So our pizza days are just absolutely, I mean, foods like that are just, and it's all made from scratch. All our foods are made from scratch. We don't use processed foods. It's all fresh ingredients. And that's also very important, something that we haven't talked about here. If you do switch to plant-based diet, also, don't just switch to whatever is there in the deep freezer in the supermarkets that just happens to have a label vegan. Do the effort and actually make it from scratch. You'll find that it's actually much better for your body.
Yeah, that is true. I wish I could cook as well as you do. And I want to try these falafels. Thank you for your last answer actually for today. I have one more question for Mathew, and it's probably the most common question for vegans. So how would you, or what would you say if someone knows about the cruelty behind dairy and cheese production, all that, but still refuses to stop eating cheese? What would your arguments be to make him or her stop eating cheese if that's the only thing they can't reject or refuse?
Well, that's why I've been so passionate about, and my team and I, about what we do, because I've tried to stay in my lane, even though of course I have very strong opinions about consuming traditional dairy products and so forth. But I tend to not say too much. I would probably just say, let me bring you some cheese, and I would bring them a cashew cheddar and probably our smoked truffle cheese that we make, and maybe a pizza with one of our rice mozzarellas that we make, and last but not least, my favorite, which is a rinded blue cheese, and I would just feed them and let it speak for themselves. I try to lead people to the alternative because it truly is better. The taste, the flavors are more vivid, and you feel better. And when you can make that connection with the positive impact you're creating by making a plant-based choice, then I think the rest will speak for itself.
Yeah, that is true. The amazing taste is going to speak for itself, especially from your dishes, I believe. But yeah, I try actually kind of the same thing to convince them with letting them taste, but it's nothing compared to your food, obviously. So thank you guys. Thank you, Alex and Mathew, for your amazing input. And of course, the volunteers and chefs on board, Elliot and Mathilde, on the Sam Simon, still probably cooking. We hope you all enjoyed it tonight. And we also want to congratulate again the winner for the Fishless Bouillabaisse. And yeah, thank you, Mathew, again for being part of our event tonight. We really hope that you enjoyed it. And yeah, thank you. So sorry.
Oh, just saying, it's a pleasure. I really appreciate all the work everybody put into their recipes and all the work you're both doing. And wish everybody can spread the word about Sea Shepherd, and and support however possible.
Thank you. So Alex, Matthew, thank you again and have a lovely evening. I'm going to say goodbye to you now so you can enjoy your evening. And
thank you. Have a great weekend.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Because I haven't had dinner yet, but seeing all these great dishes, I'm just really starving right now.
Oh, me too. Me too. Okay.
Thank you so much, Matthew. It's been amazing. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Have a great weekend.
Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. So, and now everyone here, thank you all for joining tonight. It was a pleasure to host this event and to get all these recipes from you guys, which we can now introduce to our chefs on board, and the crew is gonna love it. They're gonna get some international input from all of you guys, and we get some new food, which is amazing. And also, please continue spreading the message about veganism and how important it is to actually change our food behavior and our eating behavior. And we would also love if you guys would support our mission with donating to this fundraiser. You find the donation button around this little window. And of course, you can also buy our merchandise or our cookbook. We also have a vegan cookbook in our online shop, and all the profits obviously go to feed our crew and to our campaigns in general. So yeah, we just want to tell you again that we know it's tough to start new things, but there's no success without failure, as cheesy as it might sound. Every time when you choose a vegan meal over a dairy or meat-based meal, it's a great success and a milestone for nature and for your veganism. So thank you again for joining us tonight, and thank you for your donations. It doesn't matter how much it is. We also love food donations, and whatever you want to spare or can spare, we are always happy for every cent you can help us with. So have a wonderful evening, and thank you again for joining us tonight. Bye.
Bye.
Did you know that all the Sea Shepherd's ships are vegan?
Animal agriculture at sea and at land is destroying the oceans.
From pollution and runoff, creating dead zones.
To overfishing for human and farm animal consumption.
Making the meat industry the biggest consumer of ocean wildlife on the planet.
And that's just the beginning.
This is why we are inviting you to join our vegan challenge.
Eat healthy for you and for the planet.
While supporting the fight for the oceans.